I want to alert you about the trick that the pagan rulers of this world are using on believers. There are times they use it on common people also. But when it comes to believers, they tend to use this trick often. And this trick is used on believers when they're stuck in pagan Christianity. This happens in pagan Christianity all the time, okay? But I'm not talking about pagan Christianity in this message. I'm talking about this trick. It's a very easy one once you see through it, and you will recognize it clearly when it's enforced upon you. The pagan rulers of the world, when they target you, they want to trick you in an anxious state, in a state of anxiety. Because once you are in a state of anxiety, demons have access to you. And all kinds of bad stuff can be drawn to you. It goes like this. For example, you paid your mortgage, life insurance, or your healthcare bill, you paid what you had to do. Months later, you receive a message, sir, you still need to pay 500 euros, or you need to pay 1,500 euros. You need to do it within 3 days, or else there are going to be consequences. You receive that letter. Okay, just evaluate the letter. Of course, you have the business model, you have the addresses above, you got the date, your name in capital letters, which is also a Roman ritual, a pagan one. You go through the whole letter, but then notice it. You see the logo of the bailiff or of the debt collecting corporation, or the debt collector, and you see there's pagan symbolism in it. Either it's a lion, that's what pagans often use, or it's the trident, which refers to Neptune, which means they're worshiping sirens, or they put 666 decoded, which refers to Apollo. Anyway, they will have to reveal their symbolism to reveal the witchcraft they're operating in. What has happened now? They made a suggestion onto you. And the suggestion goes like this. There's a claim concerning you. If you don't agree with this claim, we have the right to do something to you, which will be in your disadvantage. So the way to be relieved from this is to comply with us, is to please us. So what they're really asking for is not really the money, but it's your mental and spiritual compliance. They want to hook your soul. They want to have access to your energy field. That's what they're after. Just think about it. Look, I'm not talking about rent, for example. You pay your rent, you pay what you got, you pay electricity, you pay what you got to do. Those are the basic things. But everything else beside the basic things, when people keep demanding payment, while the payment isn't even necessary for them to continue as a corporation or as a society, the only reason why they keep enforcing you to pay something is because they want access to your soul. Because for them to keep making those files, it costs money. But who are the ones making the files? They are. So why aren't they paying for the files they're making? Why are they charging you? And here's the thing, often when they send such claims to you, they don't back it up with documentation. Just think about it. If I am the provider of a service, which is doesn't belong to your basic needs, it's not like I'm renting houses or food or electricity, and nothing of the basic needs. If I offer a service, okay, and I claim that such individual still owes me like 1,500 euros. I'm just naming a number here. If that's the case, I ought to prove that he owes it to me. There must be an agreement on paper. There must be evidence that there's a lack of payment. And I ought to send copies of documentation with the letter so that there's just evidence over there. I need to do that. And I need to do it myself. I can't sell the debt to someone else and then that individual is going to charge the other. That's not right. That's not legal. You can't sell a debt to someone else because that means you already got your payment. And the other individual doesn't have the right to purchase something and then charge you. For example, let's say I purchase a car. Okay, I don't like the car, so I sell the car to someone else. And the one that bought the car from me is now going to charge the one I purchased the car at. Let's say I purchased the car at Kevin. I don't like the car I purchased at Kevin. So I sell the car that I purchased at Kevin's store to Adrian. And now Adrian is going to charge Kevin because he purchased a car that I didn't like. That doesn't add up, does it? So what's going on here? In the case of this bailiff thing, they are making a suggestion onto you. They want to hook your soul. That's the purpose. So what do? You see through the deception. You read through the letter. On email, I recommend you answer email. You answer, I've read your mail. You mentioned the documentation code and all of that. I can't pay completely right now. I can only pay like 10 euros at the end of the month or wherever. You do that. Because this is how it works in witchcraft. Unless you resist it, it will affect you. For example, if someone walks around with a gun and he begins to shoot, the only way you can be free from those shots is if you have something to protect yourself, to hinder the shots, or else you're being hit. That's how it goes in witchcraft. Unless you push against it, it will affect you. So once a suggestion has been made, you ought to take responsibility to acknowledge that it's a witchcraft suggestion and you respond to it in the proper way. Don't ignore it because, again, when you ignore it, you are agreeing with it. Let me explain how. If someone comes with a gun against you shoot and you shouldn't put on your shield, when you put up your shield, you make clear, no, I'm not taking those shots because I don't want to get wounded. The moment you leave your shield on the floor, you agree with them shooting at you and you get hurt. So, you don't ignore it, but you respond in a proper way, a very short, proper way. Because remember, the human being that sends you the message is just a messenger. He has his job, he has a family to feed and all of that. So you don't go after him. It's the pagan rulers that are doing it to hook you. Some people hear this message and say, Rashid, this goes too far. Well, I don't care what you think. I'm just revealing to you how things are. That's how the pagan rulers of this world operate. They operate in tricking the masses in a state of anxiety. And the suggestions they're making onto you is to blur your perception, because once your perception has been blurred by the suggestion, you can't see things clearly. And once you can't see things clearly, you'll make decisions that aren't clear. And sooner or later, you're in an anxious state. And that's where they want you. I'm telling you, it's your soul they're after, not the money. They couldn't care less about the money. They want your soul. Well, if they come after you and they demand something from you and you can't pay it off, just pay it off so they leave you alone. Or you pay it off in installments, just give the money so they leave you alone. Don't let their claim get a hold on you. Okay? Because that's their purpose. They on purpose come with you and charge high prices, and they give you a short amount of time, and which you know for sure that you can't get that money in that short period of time. Why they're doing that? To get you in a state of anxiety. Remember, the pagan rulers of the world, they are worshipping demons, and those demons need to be fed. So they want to suggest you. They want to make, let me say like this, they want to bring you in an anxious state, and they do this through suggestion, because this suggestion will blur your perception. That's why it's important to renew your mind, so you can see through this deception. Okay? Look, it's not only through bailiffs and invoices that you do this. Okay? I'm not talking about a legitimate invoice. For example, you pay your rent, or you pay electricity, or you purchase a washing machine and you get an invoice. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about sudden claims that you need to pay something. And here's the thing, they could have charged you this years ago or months ago, but they wait until now. So also look at the timing. I'm telling you, those are pagan rulers. That's what they do. There are other ways of doing it also. For example, let's say you have a ministry on YouTube like I do. I didn't intend to have one, but okay, it ended up in a ministry. What the pagan rulers will do is, they will send some of their agents to pretend to be believers in need. And these believers in need, so-called, that's their act, are going to ask questions to help them out. And of course, you have your ministry think, I need to help them. But there are times Holy Spirit tells you, no, don't answer this message. Don't do it. Now, when it happens, you obey the Holy Spirit. Don't go after your human emotions. Obey the Holy Spirit, because this was going on. Those agents cannot get you off of doing God's will. They can't. They're not that powerful at all. What they can do is exhaust you and drain you by coming with suggestions. And how are they suggesting things onto you when they ask for help? Pay attention to their messages when they're asking for help. Because when people are asking for help, they need to explain why. So they have to give a story of why they want help. And here's the thing. Those pagan agents, when they ask for help, they will always contradict themselves in the message that they send to you. Because this contradiction, even though you don't notice it personally, your brain captures it and your brain gets hooked, your brain gets confused. And it's this sense of confusion that gets you hooked to deal with the individual. Okay? Because your brain sense confused, you want to know more about this individual, about his or her case. And that's how you're being trapped. Because here's the thing. That case they're talking about probably doesn't even exist. They may be complaining about one of their children being on drugs and they need to pray, how to pray for it. That child may not even exist. Okay? It's just an angel, just an actor. So you begin to spend time in typing praise for them and all of that. Okay. You did nothing wrong on your part. You did the right thing because you thought it was a real thing, but here's what's going on. You have been tricked into spending energy on something that ain't real, but you're not aware of it. And this has drained you, but you're not aware of being drained a bit. And then those pagan actors do the same thing over and over again. And they're suggesting onto you is, if you don't help me out, you're not obeying Christ. You're not a real believer. You are a hypocrite. So in their request for help, there's already an accusation hidden. So it's blackmail, really. You look, if someone was in need, for example, and it's my responsibility to help them, and they will force me to help them, that's different. If it's my responsibility, because I'm able to, and I have the resources to, then it's different. Because the word also said, if someone knows how to do good and does do it, it is sin. Okay, so of course, if it's legitimate, it's legitimate. But pay attention, because not every cry for help is legitimate. Some folks just want attention, so demons are using them to blackmail you. And sometimes people are just pagan actors sent by the pagan rulers themselves. It's through suggestion that they blur your perception. And that's how they draw you into a state of anxiety, where then demons can exploit you. Don't you realize that when you are in a state of anxiety, your body can become sick, that you can end up in a hospital, or that you can malfunction somewhere and accidents can happen? Don't you know all of that? That's why I'm telling you, beware of this trick of suggestion. Because the pagan rulers of the world do this all the time. Don't just look at the messenger, the one they're using. Look at the whole situation. I gave an example of invoices and bailiffs, and an example of people so-called asking for help. There are more ways in which this happens. Now, I'm going to give another example. This example may not happen that often, but okay. Let's say you have a group of friends, for example. Not friends, or let's say people you hang out with, acquaintances. Okay? And let's say your name is Bernadette. I'm going to use a female example now. Or better said, I'm going to use a male example. A male example would be more fit for now. You're Rick. You, Rick, you hang out with 6 people. Or I'm saying with 8 people. One of them is a girl named Bernadette. It's not a romantic, anything like that, just someone you're acquainted with. Just an acquaintance. Now, this acquaintance has validation issues. Now, you're not aware of that, you're not interested in that, they're just an acquaintance, okay? So now you have an agent sent by the pagan rulers. And that agent now just walks by suddenly one day and sees you interacting with those people. Maybe you're at a cafe, you just drink some coffee with those other associates, and this pagan agent just comes by ordering also a coffee. It doesn't talk to you, but just observes you. He wears normal everyday clothes, so you don't notice that he's an agent. He goes back and he reports it. And then the one that he's reported to, the handler, then goes to the fortune teller. And the fortune teller will tell them, this rig is a quantum with 8 people. One of them is a chick called Bernadette, and she has validation issues. You can easily trick her into doing things she normally wouldn't do. Some people know this about her, that's why they avoid her. So she is a potential open door. So once the handler is aware of this, he will give assignment to the pagan agent, and the pagan agent will go on Facebook and befriend this Bernadette. Or the pagan agent will go to a cafe where Bernadette often comes and orders a coffee, chats with her, nothing romantic, just so that they meet. And he's very friendly and all of that. He love bombs her with his friendliness. Afterwards, he adds her on Facebook. Why? Is he interested in her? Does he want something from her? No. He's just using her to get access to you, to get access to Rick. And through this Bernadette now, he has access to Rick. And soon, this pagan agent will begin to suggest things about Rick to Bernadette. For example, let's say that Rick often sends, not often, but from time to time he sends music videos in her inbox because Rick knows she loves to listen to reggaeton, for example. Then this pagan agent was also a hacker, so he's hacking and seeing what's happening on Facebook, but okay, let's leave that behind. Or maybe it's not the hacker, but he finds out that this chick, Bernadette, loves reggaeton, and that Rick from time to time sends her those links of YouTube. Then the pagan agent may say to Bernadette, don't talk to me about this Rick. What type of guy is it? Is he your boyfriend, whatever? Then of course, Bernadette will say, no, it's just an acquaintance. I like reggaeton. He also from time to time he sends me reggaeton songs. Then the pagan agent will suggest on to her, but why doesn't he ask you out? Don't you see he's using you? Don't you see that he's playing a fool on you? Look at his Facebook. Look at how many women he has in his Facebook. He's obviously a pimp. Don't you see he's trying to pimp you? Bernadette thinks, come on, you're talking nonsense. But because Bernadette has validation issues, she will meditate on the seeds sown into her by the pagan agent, and she begins to think that maybe you are a pimp, maybe that. And now because she's anxious, she'll try to justify her being anxious. So then she will stop answering your messages and all of that. Every time you meet as acquaintances, she tends to be a bit reserved. And then you think, what's going on? What has happened now? That pagan agent caused some division between you and Bernadette. Why? Because he wanted to get access to you. He wanted you to get into an anxious state. Now you're thinking, what did I do wrong? Why is this acquaintance avoiding me? Why is this acquaintance acting so anxious around me? Things were good before. This was the purpose, to get you in an anxious state. Because once you're in an anxious state, you can't think straight anymore. Your perception has been blinded by the behavior of that acquaintance, because that acquaintance was used to suggest a bad outcome to you. And now this Bernadette begins to talk about the situation with her friends, thinking, now maybe that Rick is like a pimp, maybe he's after me, I don't know. She's messed up, and her friends, while they enable her being messed up, so they tend to agree with her. So now you have rumors about you going around. That's how it goes. And once this is all going on, the operation has succeeded, the pagan agent disappears from Bernadette's Facebook, from her life. He's gone. He did what he had to do. That's also how the pagan rulers of the world use their agents to suggest believers into a state of anxiety. Such things happen. Now, does this mean that social media is completely wrong, that you can't use it for constructive purposes? Well, I use social media for constructive purposes. I do that. But I'm very alert, because I know how those pagan rulers operate. And what I just described to you, that fictive operation, such things happen. They do. Sometimes sometimes such operations have fatal consequences. Such operations are also done on unbelievers from time to time. Just acknowledge, just see through the trick of suggestion. Because the pagan rulers of the world use this all the time on believers. Be aware.